Today I'll start doing what I said I was going to do, which was to start putting up my songs, my own stuff. Um, I said that before, and I did one sort of, and then I thought about it. I thought, do I really want to do this? I said, well, why not? What the hell? So the songs themselves that I've composed and written, I've written a lot of songs. I got into a habit way back when I started to sort of write a song every day. I don't do that anymore, but I did it then, just from the point of view of trying to, if you're going to do something, then you need to do it. And so you have to do it regularly, whether you want to do it or not. And you just sort of get into the habit of doing it, and you just gradually sort of learn how to do some things as you go along, just to put in the time, if nothing else. And so I did that. So to put this sort of, like I said, and I think I thought about this, I thought a chronology is probably helpful if I'm really going to put up the stuff that I have, and maybe explanation about what we're talking about. So I started writing in a serious sense back in the 80s, so say about 1983, where I really started to sit down and try to write songs. And it took a while to write a complete song. But that's when I started. And so and like I said, I did that sort of regularly every day, et cetera, et cetera. And so I thought about, I could sort of group things from that point forward to now, to sort of, I thought, how am I going to, where do they lie within the time frame? So I thought about that, and I thought, well, really the decade sort of does it in a way. So if you think, I would think that there's a group of songs that I wrote when I started in the 80s. So that would be, and I guess in earnest in terms of complete songs, would have been from 85 to about 1990. And so there's a collection of songs there at that point. And then there's a collection of songs from, say, 1990 to about 96 or 97 even, maybe 96. Then there's a collection of songs there. And then there's another collection that starts about 2000 to about 2008. And the dividing places actually happen to work. So 90 is a good place because my song writing sort of coalesced at that point. So that's a good dividing point. The songs that had later and earlier are sort of different in qualitative ways. And then 2008 is a good place to divide, because that's where I actually recorded some of my songs, my first really serious attempts at recording. I'd recorded a little bit before that, but this is really a full-blown kind of serious attempt with microphones and learning how to do it and effects and so forth. And those were recordings of piano and voice. And the difference, though, there would be that in 2008 would be that didn't mean this piano, because in 2008, that was when this piano was being rebuilt, which was a lengthy process, about 2 years plus. So I didn't have that piano at that point. So I actually used a sample piano to record those. I still have those recordings, actually. But there are a whole bunch of my songs, I did actually do that, but just with the piano and the voice. And then from about 2010 to now would be the last, I think, collection of songs. Most of the songs I throw away, or have thrown away, or I tried to throw them away. I mean, I would throw them away, and then I would think, oh, I want to try that one again, and I'd play it again. So the songs that I keep are the ones that sort of, over time, I kept either retrieving from the trash bin, or I kept because I did, in fact, think I liked them for myself. So these are all things in first and foremost, these are all things that I composed for me. There was no audience involved or even audience intended, to be honest. You think about that a little bit, but I didn't really. I thought about it a little bit, but really it was recording for me. It was really for me to play myself, and they were helpful to me personally. So in that vein, very few people have heard any of these songs. There's like a handful of people, literally a handful of people, that have heard any of these ever from the last 40 years. So in that sense, most of these songs are unheard of, except for me. Like I said, they were all They were all composed on the piano. Me and the lyrics were mine, and they were composed with the intent of me being able to playing them for myself. So in that sense, there was no audience involved. There was no intent of trying to sell it to somebody in some sense. So all of them I kept because they meant something to me personally as a piece of music. And like I said, sometimes a lot of times that just means I kept it over time, meaning if I bring it out every now and then and play it, I still find something interesting. Or I retrieve it from the trash and try it and say, oh, okay, well, I'll keep that around a little longer. That's really what it was. And so in that sense, I have a small collection of songs at this stage of the game that I actually have kept over that period of time. And that chronology stretches from the 80s until now. So that's sort of the framework for all of the stuff that I've written. Like I said, 99% is gone, but the little bit that I kept because I thought there was something there for me. So that's what you're going to hear over time. Like I said, all the songs were composed for piano and voice, and that's how I played them because I just play stuff for myself on the piano. However, since I'm going to put this up on a video and then record it, which is part of the fun in a way of doing this, is just to actually sit down and actually seriously record them. But also, I've got, these days with a computer, you have so much sonic firepower in terms of instrumentation and so forth. I might as well just go ahead and if I feel that I've got something interesting to do there, I'll just go ahead and try to arrange it for something else or in addition to piano. So it could be add some drums, add a bass, keep the piano, or not use the piano and just do a whole other set of instruments and maybe change even the style, So that in that sense, it'll be sort of fun, make it sort of novel for me in that sense, even though I've played them many times on the piano. So the arrangement on the piano may or may not end up corresponding because that's a solo instrument. So we'll see. But that's everything is going to be sort of, I'll look at everything, each one anew in that sense. So we'll see what comes out of it. I may do several versions just for the hell of it. What the heck? We'll see. Because like I said, you got so much stuff you can do now. I haven't even used it all because I had no reason to. But we'll see what that comes up with. So today will be the first one in that vein. And actually, today is going to be being the first one. It also is one that I didn't use the piano, as it turns out, because it was such a generic kind of a thing, and the arrangement just sort of immediately worked in terms of a generic arrangement for it of, bass and drums and guitar and so forth. It just sort of worked. Wasn't too tough to sort of envision it in that way. So today's song is going to be something that was from the 80s, one of the first ones that was complete. A complete song. I've written a lot of fragments. And I still have all those fragments that I might end up using at some point, who knows. But there are a lot of fragments. But this one was the first one that sort of came together as a complete, in my sense at least, what I think of as a complete song. So this one's called That Perfect Moment. And so that was like one of the ones from 85 or 86, something like that. And like I said, that one on the piano, yes, but I'm going to do it with a full-blown kind of a band arrangement in some sense. But it works in that sense. It works very well for it. So I'll do that. And that's what you're going to hear now. So for the first time. So most of these are going to be for the first time. Like I said, a handful of people have actually heard 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these before. But for the most part, these were all unheard because I never really played them for anybody because they really were for me. So I wasn't really trying to find an audience. So anyways, that's sort of a setup for it. I won't do this every single time in terms of this long intro. But I might just say, where they come from, or not where they come from, but the time frame at least, with where they come from. What was going on, like I said, doesn't matter that much, really. In fact, doesn't even reflect maybe what's in the song at all, to be honest. But anyways, this is from, like I said, about the mid-'80s, called That Perfect Moment.
once we stood on emerald hills, sunset skies and ocean spills, laughed with hearts that dared to dream. Time was ours, or so it seemed. Gentle whispers carried far, caught the echo of a star. Promises we couldn't keep now remain in endless sleep. That perfect moment lost in time, frozen in my weary mind. Memories like silver streams flow through endless dreams. That perfect moment lost in time. Midnight dances all alone, footsteps fade on cobblestone, echoes of a love so pure, now just shadows to endure. Waves will cry and stars will fall, and time won't heed our call. But in that realm where silence sings, you and I were just beginning. That perfect moment lost in time, frozen in my weary mind. Memories like silver streams flow through endless dreams. That perfect moment lost in time preys upon my weary mind. Memories like silver streams flow through endless dreams. That perfect moment lost